Well, welcome back, everyone. This is Oasis Digital with another one of our curriculum dev sessions. Just as a reminder, this is just a unscripted. We're working together on some code, just kind of a peek into how we actually work on our curriculum. We're going to go ahead and decide on a couple topics here, and before we do that, though, let's introduce everyone who's here. So again, I'm Paul Spears.
I'm Zachary Gibbon.
Bill Odom.
Kyle Cordes.
Jack Balbes.
Jack's going to be running the keyboard for us today, and so I guess that's it. Let's go ahead and get started.
It's lovely, Jack.
That's a product placement.
And the mouse,
Logitech,
too.
we would like a sponsorship, please.
Starbucks.
Yes, definitely. Starbucks sponsorship.
Welcome.
All right, so
There's tea, actually.
So what we normally do, we usually start off by just taking a look at our curriculum. Our instructors are always kind of, every time they show up at a class, they'll push their changes up and we take a look at any kind of tweaks that they might have noticed or improvements that they could have made, and we keep rolling those into the curriculum.
Do people know where to find the curriculum? Like if they want to see the
Well,
stuff
they
that
actually
we're
can't see
on?
this repo. This is our private internal
Oh, I
repo.
understand,
Yeah.
but there is a version that is actually
Yeah,
out
let's-
there.
Yeah, so in the
Yeah.
description, we can go ahead and in the
Yeah, we'll
description
drop a
of this
link in
one,
the description.
We'll drop
to
a link
where-
to the Angular
yeah.
Bootcamp. You
Yeah.
can also find our Twitter handles in there
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So to get started, typically we like to work from the oldest branch to the newest. That way we kind of keep everyone honest with keeping up to date. And so here we actually worked on this branch last week, and I believe we were waiting for some changes. Is that right? Where did
So,
we leave off with this?
We had a brilliant plan last week, and that was to talk about the changes we wanted, and then a brilliant young intern who works for us would see the video. The problem is the person responsible for editing and publishing the video, I don't know who that might be, didn't get it published in time for him to get that feedback. So we could just dive in and we could proceed with it, or we could punt on it for this week and
I'd
go
say,
to the
yeah,
next
I'd say
one.
let's move on to the next one. So we got a plan for what to do there, so let's go ahead and move on to the next branch. And that looks like Angular 8 v2 standalone examples. This one's back again. Where did we leave off on this? Does
I think
anyone
this was
remember?
good. It just needed to be merged, but not.
Have you done a fetch here to make sure that it throws away any branches that have
I
been deleted?
just cloned this on this computer, so
Oh.
Did we merge that?
I can fetch
we
again if you.
Well, yeah, and we have prune turned on.
Oh yeah, we didn't merge that because I during my recent class I fetched. I thought.
So
and
we
were still
So
on-
I
we're
think
still
there
on
may have been
807.
like something in here that we didn't actually want those. So let's take a quick scan through here and figure out where we stand.
Okay.
Somebody tell me what this is for, because I don't know what this is
So
about.
okay, so we have a bunch of these kind of highly numerous examples we use in class that kind of they're like kind of little morsels to be consumed. Then we have this handful of extra things, each of which is an entire Angular CLI
More
project.
directory.
Yeah, the more
Yeah.
directory. And so I did a process where I updated like the main stuff to the latest Angular recently, but I didn't do that for the extra more stuff, and someone else volunteered to do it, and here's that work coming through.
Is that guy?
Yeah, so someone else volunteered it and did a great job, but for some reason it hasn't been merged yet.
Yeah, so I think there was a challenge with one of the directories,
Yeah.
the ng packager directory. Like it had some versions. We got to looking at it and realized,
Wiped it.
you know what, we just need to delete the ng packager. I see here this commit deletes it, so I think this one actually is ready to go,
Yeah.
and so we just needed to merge it. But before that, we actually need to make sure like it actually passes all the
Rebase
the
it and
linting,
run our
rebase it. Yeah, the whole rigmarole of preparing it for CI/CD basically.
That was
Okay,
done
so you
like
wanna
2
rebase
months
on the
ago.
back of
Yeah.
that?
So it's been a bit since we touched the branch.
Now I'm trying to remember. I don't know if our CI runs a lint on all the stuff and more, but we probably should manually go and run a lint on each one in there, right?
Well, we have a script that actually will like go
Pretty
through
fix.
and do most of this in one shot, right?
Is
But
that
I don't know
top
if
level or here?
I don't think it gets more though.
Yeah, it may actually.
Oh, you might have to
deliberately
CD
exclude
into
it.
the actual mores.
Well,
and
take
do
a look
their
at
thing.
package.json and see what it actually says to do.
We have a prettier fix.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure everything we do at this top level is scoped.
Only for the
Yeah.
top level. So
Only for the numbered.
we were excluding node modules. What else are we excluding in the lints?
I believe we exclude
Well,
more somewhere.
Yep, right
Yes,
there.
I think.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, the whole idea being that like we might want to experiment with intentionally different configurations
Right.
per more directory,
Yeah.
so each one's responsible for its own.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
need to go into each of the more directories.
Make sure
and
they
run it.
compile. Make sure that they lint.
So that means I should probably CD into more.
But how much of that is set up already. Like, do we have any of that set up on CI/CD?
Well, you could take a look at our Bitbucket pipelines, and maybe it's possible. I mean, it's possible that in the Bitbucket pipeline, I already have something that's doing that.
Did we introduce David, by the way? I see David. His head just popped in on the screen.
Ooh.
David, did we introduce you? I don't think we did.
No,
I'm
no,
a
that's
bad
fine.
person.
I'm a quiet person.
Well, hold on. We're going to make sure that your face is actually visible here when Jack is done on the other screen.
Yeah, it's kind of a. There we go.
There we go.
That's David Moore. Yep.
No, David, we went through all that work to introduce you. Now say more than that.
Okay. Well, last week when we went through this, that's when we deleted NG Packager because NG Packager is built into the
latest
CLI now.
Yeah.
Since
See, look at that. David,
5,
really
maybe?
And unfortunately, that was the example, right?
Right. Yeah.
So can you show me the screen, please?
Thank you, David.
Yep.
I want to see the time, the recording. It's sort of
No,
about
I did
7:30.
it up here so that
Oh,
I did it
great.
up there purposely so that
Oh.
it wouldn't show up in the recording.
You're a gentleman.
Either way,
scholar.
now all this banter about why we did a
Yeah.
thing,
Sure.
worth noting.
So yes.
Yep.
Wait, this is the wrong one. This is the right.
Oh, this is my old directory. How did this get into
Wait,
source
what?
control?
All right, hang on.
What is that? Okay, what?
That's funny.
Oh, that's great.
Probably could do without that one. It's called Angular Class Material.
Yeah.
There we go.
I mean, if you want to see what's in there, I actually
2016.
have that
Why is
directory.
it
I use that in
ordered
class,
in that
but
way?
I didn't realize it was in source control.
Who knows, Jack? What on earth?
Where did it go?
The mouse is. We need to get a new mouse.
What do we need?
That we need to do mouse. Like it drops, or maybe new batteries for
Oh.
the mouse. Like drops the mouse click on the floor if you're trying to drag it.
There we
in.
go.
Cool.
Now we just plugged Logitech for a sponsorship.
So we wanted to look at the pipeline.
See, if we had a
Now we-
sponsorship,
now we
might
need
get a
to
fresh
plug
mouse every
Duracell.
couple, and maybe every couple
Duracell,
months.
send us batteries.
How about this?
They
Maybe
get
every
bigger
few
office
months they
space.
could send us a fresh mouse for us to try out their
Yeah.
latest and greatest.
We gotta get a
Then
bigger
we spend
office
half the
space
meeting
to
trying to
use
figure out how the
that.
mouse works.
All right.
And start another show installing new mics. Okay, what do we got?
So we're checking what's in the pipelines. Actually,
Okay.
like we don't even need to do that
Yeah,
from here. We can do that from
Yeah.
the code.
I just meant look at the
Somebody
Bitbucket
say what this
pipeline
is
file.
if people are like watching and like, what the heck are they looking at?
So Bitbucket is a competitor to GitHub, and since it's a competitor,
I think Atlassian would say that GitHub is a competitor to Bitbucket.
since they're different, like they crash at different times, and so when GitHub goes down,
No negative things about anybody.
no, that's not negative. This is just. I mean, this is the thing the community's really been fighting, right? Is it like GitHub? I'm sure has like the biggest engineering team in the world, but they also have the most attackers in the world, right? And so it's kind of nice that there's some diversity. There's competitors, and just for whatever reasons, we've chosen to do our private internal stuff we do on Bitbucket, but we also do some open source stuff on GitHub. So we kind of do both.
We love everybody.
Yeah, I think GitLab also.
Yes.
That's pretty slick.
All right. So in our code base, you can find Bitbucket's YAML file
Yeah,
up at the
Yeah.
top of the directory structure.
it's not. You're gonna have to go up.
Up a level.
Yeah, you can just open. You can literally hit open file and just navigate and find it. I mean, it's just we're literally looking for a file. It's not a big deal. There you go.
All right. So up at the top, so we're basically looking for like if they CD into, we do CD into the video stat tracker
Yeah.
on line 23 there.
Yeah.
So it captures the main one of these that we care about in the more directory, but I don't know if the other stuff is.
So
Yeah.
we should manually deal with
At least the video stuff.
these.
Okay.
The idea is that we don't need to deal with the video stat tracker because this does.
Oh, in terms of deploying.
So I should go in here and I should do
Might not
like an
lint it,
NPM
though.
run
Yeah,
Lint or
let's say it.
something.
Well,
Well,
here's a question. So I got spanked last night for not using Yarn. So is this supposed to be a Yarn thing or an NPM thing?
We do all yarn in here just for the sake of simplicity.
Smack Jack.
Yeah, he doesn't mind. Keep in mind that your yarn might be obsolete also. So it's rough. You probably need to be like if you haven't updated your
Yeah,
tools
I
on here in a
haven't.
while.
Is there a command to
no.
do that?
Although,
It's
like,
it's a-
this error you're getting is probably not because you didn't update. Like, what error are you actually getting? Kind of config of null. I don't even know what that would mean.
Is this
Like,
a yarn?
Have you yarned
What is
this?
this publishing?
I have not yarn it.
Yeah, so you don't even have, right? Because this is a fresh checkout.
Yeah.
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 So NG Lint looks like it's saying that it can't find the lint config.
Yeah, it probably doesn't have all the node modules that are being installed. They go along
Yep.
with the CLI to do
Probably.
the thing.
fun part about those being 4 separate projects.
So while this is doing its thing, one quick sidebar on like, do we still need to keep using yarn? Like you seemed very adamant that like yarn's the right choice the other night, but like
so,
is
not
that
so much
still the
right
truth?
choice, but like, so we had switched to yarn
Mhm.
because there was a moment there where like NPM was they were just struggling. I'm sure they were working on fighting the other problem, which is like contaminated packages from bad actors. But the client tool it was struggling. It wasn't very fast, and it had some correctness issues. And so then yarn exploded onto the scene, and like was better in some pretty stark ways. Now this is what happens. It's in every competitive environment. A good thing happens, and then all of a sudden, like that's an existence proof that good thing can be done, and then sure enough, everybody else is like, well, yeah, we can go do that, and so they seem much closer to parity now than they ever have.
Like, and for the sake, it might be like whatever differences there are, like, it may not be worth it for the confusion of the ecosystem now at this point.
Well, it's not really confusing to us.
No.
I do think it is important, and
Yeah.
I'll try to cap the sidebar at this because this is like a rehash of last night's chat conversation.
Mhm.
I do think it's important that we consistently like take the distribution output of this process and install it and use it the way that our students are most likely to be using it in class. That's one of the reasons that literally before every class, I grab the zip file, unzip it, do an NPM install, not a yarn install, and like try it out the way that a student would, just to make sure that even though we're using all this whizzy bionic tooling on our side, the stuff that we expect people to use in class still works in the expected way.
I'd agree with all that. Sidebar number 2, TSLint has officially started their deprecation.
Oh, yeah.
Their good news.
Okay.
NX is already integrated with ESLint by default with a brand new NX project.
But is Angular CLI there next?
They are working on it, but
Yeah.
but NX by default, which is like what I have.
So if you make
by
a
default
new
anymore.
NX project, they've already switched.
Like they're already using theirs with ESLint,
Yeah.
which we should like put on our list of like tooling things to do here. Is switch
Yeah.
our stuff over to ESLint.
I would like to get some insight into where the Angular team is in the process of switching over the CLI away from TSLint over to ESLint.
Like there was a like highly watched issue out there about it. Like
Yeah.
they're definitely doing it.
Oh, I know they're doing
Yeah,
it. I just don't know
happen.
what their time frame is.
Yeah.
Since Ivy ate the entire Angular team for like the last
So-
2 years.
They got overgrown by
I mean,
Ivy.
I think the best way to handle things like this, if we can have the discipline to do it, is that somebody in the room thinks that's a good idea, and then tries at least 0.2% of the work and creates a branch, which then puts it in our hopper to maybe next week we try to upgrade one of these to current CLI and then to current Lint setup if they're there. Or
Yeah,
maybe
I don't think they're quite there yet. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think they
Yeah.
are. I don't think that there would be much use in seeing what the CLI is doing today or next week. But
yeah,
soon.
okay. I'm really hoping that CLI takes care of this for us.
Oh yeah.
But I will.
It's kind of the same way that I approach TypeScript versions. I really want to be able to use the latest and greatest TypeScript. Like the moment that
Yeah, that's not how that works.
the moment that Daniel Rosenwasser says, "Yes, we did the thing," I want to be able to use it that afternoon.
Yeah.
But I have disciplined myself to not do that. I let the CLI catch up at whatever pace it's going to catch up, and life's just simpler that way for Angular.
They're doing a really good job keeping up nowadays.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I'm
very
really,
impressed.
really, really happy with it.
Jack, where are we here?
So I had some trouble with some lint rules that I didn't understand,
So,
and then we have a whole bunch of linting errors.
okay, so
This is what happens when you
So
don't
this
lint
is
regularly.
this is an
Yeah,
ancient
okay.
lint
Yeah.
configuration, most
so,
likely.
well,
All I did was move files.
so you just moved files, right?
I moved,
And so-
and I moved a few files that were just like config files. I
Wasn't
didn't
alright-
touch polyfills.
Like, wasn't our idea in this? We wanted to like do these as just very close to what a student would do if they just did a fresh install of CLI and did ng new.
Right,
So-
I compared it to like an engineer.
But did you only compare the location of the files or the content?
I did content too.
Because I was thinking like,
I did
It seems
content
like-
and location, but most
So-
of them say the same.
wouldn't a lint config from a fresh new Angular CLI be compatible with like not have errors that come out?
I don't know what the JS dot
Yeah.
stuff is, but I
So
didn't.
this
I didn't
is
look at
in
the polyfills file.
Polyfills, yeah.
regrettably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the polyfills have changed a lot with
Yeah.
V8
Oh.
because
Yeah.
of their differential serving mechanism.
Oh,
So
I
it
didn't
seems
think
like
about
the next work. So I will defer to anyone but me to decide whether we try this now. But it seems like the
No,
next
this
step here is go make a fresh new Angular CLI project, and then like each of the config files and the polyfill files and so on try to reconcile to current.
Yeah, this is a kick it back to the author to
Yeah,
take
I
another
can mess
swing.
with the polyfills.
Since the author is in the room.
Yes, I didn't think about polyfills.
Yeah. No.
Well,
Okay,
and-
so
and
do we want
while-
to drop a marker?
While we
For
are
our next
piling
topic?
things onto Zachary, anything else we can think of? Because we've all been through this process a few times of like a significant like upgrade in the Angular CLI, the Angular version, all that. What else do we want to recommend that Zachary take a look at?
So I have a meetup that I had given about upgrading to version 8. It's got a recording. I will,
Yeah.
and yeah, you were there, right? Yeah. So
all of your
You didn't men-
excuses
you didn't mention
just
polyfills.
evaporating, Zachary.
but
You
I
didn't mention
actually I
polyfills.
don't know if that video is publicly available.
Okay.
But it would have in it like here's
mean,
exactly what you do.
Yeah, I did all the
stepwise.
stuff you did. I just didn't think about polyfills in terms of like.
Well, like Kyle was saying, typically what I do when I have to make a significant, major upgrade like this is basically create a brand new CLI project and pull things over from the old thing. And it's very ham-fisted and crude,
Yeah,
but it does.
But it
make
works.
sense.
Well, no,
Yeah.
but
That's what I do in individual projects, but those other projects are like, they have like extremely different TSLint settings and TSconfig settings compared to a default.
And I think
project.
maybe that's one of the other problems is we need to like
Some do, some
reconcile all those. I think we've got a pretty solid TSLint configuration, soon to be ESLint configuration for the class materials, and we should probably be using the same one across all of them.
Because I know the video
Yeah.
stat tracker has specific ones, but then like the other three projects are like just base and for whatever.
I think they just need to be reconciled.
So the challenge in the reconciliation is that for these mores, that they're intended to be pretty close to like if you just did an ng new and then did the
Right.
minimal work. And that's pretty far from like what we use is intended to be like a fully realized, fully evolved flowering of how to configure these tools. And so we'd either have to sort of dumb down our fully rich one, or we have to say, well, you need to like do an ng new, but that's not good enough. You need to go like grab this stuff.
I
So
think
it's
people are
a
going to be looking
trade-off.
at the stuff that's in the more
So-
directory. It's much more likely that they're going to be saying, oh, these are actual examples of the way that these smart people that I paid an obscene amount of money to have come
Yeah.
see me do work. And they should be closer to that than whatever you get
Yeah,
with you knew.
they
David, were
could
you
be.
trying to say something?
Yeah, I was curious as to what is in some of these examples because one of the things I was thinking about is since the CLI allows for multiple projects, can't these just be another project?
Like a
At the
single
top
CLI
levels.
project that would have multiple applications inside of it?
Yes, like the top level CLI project for the repo.
Well,
There's
the problem
not.
is there is not a top-level
Yeah.
CLI project for the class
it.
materials.
Yeah.
The class materials currently are not amenable to the CLI way of doing business.
Well-
we would love to be able to get there. Don't whale me on this. We've been round and round and round, and it is really hard to adapt one to the other. I would love to, but we're not quite there yet.
The materials are amenable. The way we teach the class, having to like stop and start CLI to switch from one program to
Oh
another.
yeah, and that's
is
what I'm
yeah,
really
that's-
saying. We don't
yeah,
want
yeah.
65 CLI apps.
Exactly.